I said I'm gonna give it maybe 5 minutes. This is mainly to get people reading as a group, as a unit, in context, because a lot of people do not read in context. They don't read the whole chapters, whole books. So I'm trying to encourage people to do that together. It's a lot easier when you have people around you doing it, or somebody taking charge. Shalom, face. Yeah, we had read chapter 1 to 28 last night. Trying to get this reading as a group, front to back. I had just finished reading the whole Tanakh on Wednesday, and me and Sage had read. We did 2 rooms, one on Proverbs, one on Ecclesiastes. I decided to do the 2 books of Solomon on wisdom, just because I see a lot of majority of people on here every day it's either debating or causing strife and seeking entertainment, and not really dealing with each other in a wise way. So I felt like we had to get those rooms and get it beaten to our heads. Anger rests in the bosom of fools. All that folly and just like that. So we did those rooms first. We started Genesis last night though, so we can go front to back. If you want to read, raise your hand. I'll bring you up. I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes. Trying to see if Sage want to come and read. If not, then I'll get started probably in maybe like 2 minutes. But yeah, ping some people in, because a lot of people do not be reading. They really don't like reading, honestly, and that's the issue. They do that here a little, there a little, build their little doctrines, but they don't be reading the whole context. Which is why I'm trying to take charge and get as many people as possible to take that journey and read every word and connect the puzzle pieces and see that certain prophecies that came to pass, or it was about certain prophecies about somebody else, and that it's not about who they think it is. I say it in my smoky voice. I know you don't like to read. I know this. I think about 2:10. I'm gonna just get it started. I'm gonna give a little blow on the shofar, bring in the Shabbat. I might be a little rusty. Oh yeah, that sounds like an elephant. My neighbors hate when I do that. I guarantee. But yeah, man, I'm finna just get started. Oh, okay. We left off at 29. So Jacob lifted his feet and went toward the land of the Easterners. He looked, and behold, a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep lay there beside it, For from that well they will water the flocks, and the stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks would be assembled there, they would roll the stone from over the mouth of the well in its place. Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where are you?" And they said, We are from Haran. He said to them, Do you know Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know. Then he said to them, Is it well with him? They answered, It is well. And see, his daughter Rachel is coming. He said, Look, the day is still long. It is not yet time to bring the livestock in. Water the flock and go on grazing. But they said, We will be unable to until all the flocks will have been gathered, and they will roll the stone off the mouth of the well. We will then water the flock. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel had arrived with her father's flock, for she was a shepherdess. And it was written, and it was, when Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the flock of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob came forward and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well and watered the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and he raised his voice and wept. Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative and that he was Rebekah's son. Then she ran and told her father. And it was when Laban heard the news of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran toward him, embraced him, kissed him, and took him to his house. He recounted to Laban all these events. Then Laban said to him, Nevertheless, you are my flesh and blood. And he stayed with him a month's time. Then Laban said to Jacob, Just because you are my relative, should you serve me for nothing? Tell me, what are your wages? Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older one was Leah, and the name of the other one was Rachel. Leah's eyes were tender, while Rachel was beautiful of form and beautiful of appearance. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will work for you 7 years, for Rachel, your younger daughter. Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than I give her to another man. Remain with me. So Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him a few days because of his love for her. Jacob said to Laban, Deliver my wife, for my term is fulfilled, and I will consort with her. So Laban gathered all the people of the place and made a feast. And it was in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he consorted with her. And Laban gave her Zilpah his maidservant, a maidservant to Leah his daughter. And it was in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I worked for you? Why have you deceived me? Laban said, Such is not done in our place, to give the younger before the elder. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other one too, for the work which you will perform for me yet another 7 years. Shh. So Jacob did so, and he completed the week for her, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to him as a wife. And Laban gave Rachel his daughter Bilhah his maidservant to her as a maidservant. He consorted also with Rachel and loved Rachel even more than Leah, and he worked for him yet another 7 years. Yah saw that Leah was unloved, so he opened her womb, but Rachel remained barren. Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, as she had declared, because Yahweh has discerned my humiliation, for now my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bore a son, and declared, because Yahweh has heard that I am unloved, he has given me this one also, and she called his name Simeon. Again she conceived and bore a son, and declared, This time my husband will become attached to me, for I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he called his name Levi. She conceived again and bore a son, and declared, This time let me gratefully praise Yahweh. Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she stopped giving birth. Rachel saw that she had not, chapter 30. Rachel saw that she had not borne children to Jacob. So Rachel became envious of her sister. She said to Jacob, Give me children, otherwise I am dead. Jacob's anger flared up at Rachel, and he said, Am I instead of Elohim, who has withheld from you fruit of the womb? She said, Here is my maid Bilhah, consort with her, that she may bear upon my knees, and I too may be built up through her. So she gave him Bilhah her maidservant as a wife, and Jacob consorted with her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, Elohim has judged me. He has also heard my voice and has given me a son. She therefore called his name Dan. Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, Sacred schemes have I maneuvered to equal my sister, and I have also prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped giving birth, she took Zilpah, her maidservant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, bore Jacob a son. And Leah declared, Good luck has come. So she called him Gad. Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, bore a second son to Jacob. Leah declared, In my good fortune, for women have deemed me fortunate. So she called his name Asher. Reuben went out in the days of the wheat harvest. He found Dudaim in the field and brought them to Leah his mother. Rachel said to Leah, Please give me some of your son's Dudaim. But she said to her, Was your taking my husband insignificant? And now to even take my son's Dudaim? Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with you tonight in return for your son's Dudaim. When Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, It is to me that you must come, for I have clearly hired you with my son's Dudaim. So he lay with her that night. Hearkened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah declared, Yahweh has granted me my reward because I gave my maidservant to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Leah said, Yahweh has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will make his permanent home with me, for I have bore him 6 sons. So she named his name Zebulun. Afterwards she bore a daughter, and she called her name Dinah. Yahweh remembered Rachel. Yahweh hearkened to her, and he opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son, and said, Yahweh has taken away my disgrace. So she called his name Joseph, saying, May Yahweh add on for me another son. And it was, when Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Grant me leave that I may go to my place and to my land. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and I will go. For you are aware of my service that I labor for you. But Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, I have learned by divination that Yahweh has blessed me on account of you. And he said, Specify your ways to me, and I will give it. But he said to him, You know how I served you, and what your livestock were with me. For the little that you had before I came has expanded substantially, as Yahweh has blessed you with my coming. And now, when will I also do something for my own house? He said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, Do not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will resume pasturing and guarding your flocks. Let me pass through your whole flock today. Remove from there every speckled or spotted lamb, every brownish lamb among the sheep, and the spotted or speckled among the goats. That will be my wage. Then let my integrity testify for me in the future when it comes before you regarding my wage. Any among the goats that is not speckled or spotted, or among the sheep that is not brownish, is stolen, if in my possession. And Laban said, Agreed, if only it will be as you say. So he removed that very day the ringed and spotted he goats, and the speckled and spotted goats, every one that contained white, as well as all the brownish ones among the sheep. And he left them in the charge of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days between himself and Jacob tended Laban's remaining flock. Jacob then took himself fresh rods of poplar and hazel and chestnut. He peeled white streaks in them, laying bare the white of the rods, and he set up the rods which he had peeled in the runnels, in the watering receptacles to which the flock came to drink, facing the flocks, so they would become stimulated when they came to drink. Then the flocks became stimulated by the rods, and the flocks gave birth to ringed ones, speckled ones, and spotted ones. Jacob segregated the lambs, and he made flocks face the ringed ones and all the brownish ones among the Laban's flocks. He formed separate droves of his own, and did not mingle them with Laban's flocks. Wherever it was mating time, Whenever it was mating time for the early bearing flocks, Jacob would place the rods in the runnels in full view of the flock to stimulate them among the rods. But when the sheep were late bearing, he would not in place. Thus the late bearing ones went to Laban, and the early bearing ones to Jacob. The man became exceedingly prosperous, and he attained fecund flocks, maidservants and servants, camels and donkeys. Then he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken all that belonged to our father, and from that which belonged to our father he amassed all this wealth. Jacob also noticed Laban's disposition that, behold, it was not toward him as in earlier days. And Yahweh said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your native land, and I will be with you. Jacob sent and summoned Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I have noticed that your father's disposition is not toward me as in earlier days, but the Elohim of my father was with me. Now you have known that it was with all my might that I served your father. Yet your father mocked me and changed my wage 100 times. But Yahweh did not permit him to harm me. If he would stipulate, speckled ones shall be your wages, then the entire flock bore speckled ones. And if he would stipulate, ring ones shall be your wages, then the entire flock bore ring ones. Thus, Yahweh took away your father's livestock and gave them to me. It once happened at the mating time of the flock that I raised my eyes and saw in a dream. Behold, the he-goats that mounted the flock were ringed, speckled, and checkered. And an angel of Yah said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, here I am. And he said, raise your eyes, if you please, and see all the he-goats mounting the flocks are ringed, speckled, and checkered. For I have seen that all that Laban is doing to you. I am the Elohim of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made me a vow. Now arise, leave this land, and return to your native land. Then Rachel and Leah replied and said to him, have we then still a share and inheritance in our father's house? Are we not considered by him as strangers? For he has sold us and even totally consumed our money. But all the wealth that Yahweh has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. So now, whatever Yahweh has said to you, do. Jacob arose and lifted his children and his wives onto the camels. He led away all his livestock and all the wealth which he had amassed. His purchased property which he had amassed in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac to the land of Canaan. Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole the teraphim that belonged to her father. Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. Thus he fled with all he had. He arose and crossed the river, and he set his direction toward Mount Gilead. It was told to Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled. So he took his kinsman with him and purchased him a distance of 7 days, catching up with him on Mount Gilead. But Yahweh had come to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night and said to him, beware lest you speak with Jacob either good or bad. Laban overtook Jacob. Jacob had pitched his tent on the mountain, while Laban had stationed his kinsman on Mount Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, what have you done that you have deceived me and led my daughters away, nor did you tell me? Led my daughters away like captives of the sword. Why have you fled so stealthily and cheated me? Nor did you tell me, for I would have sent you off with gladness, with songs, with timbrel, and with lyre. And you did not even allow me to kiss my sons and daughters. Now you have acted foolishly. It is in my power to do you all harm. But the Elohim of your father addressed me last night, saying, beware of speaking with Jacob, either good or bad. Now, you have left because you long greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? What? Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought perhaps you might steal your daughters from me. With whomever you find your gods, he shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, ascertain for yourself what is with me, and take it back. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. Laban came into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 maidservants, but he found nothing. When he had left Leah's tent, he came into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, put them into the camel's pack saddle, and sat on them. Laban rummaged through the whole tent, but found nothing. She said to her father, let not my lord be angered, that I cannot rise up before you, for the way of women is upon me. Thus he searched, but did not find the teraphim. Then Jacob became angry, and he took up his grievance with Laban. Jacob spoke up and said to Laban, what is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? When you rummaged through all my things, what did you find of all your household objects? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, and let them decide between the 2 of us. These 20 years I have been with you, your ewes and she-goats never miscarried, nor did I eat rams of your flock. That which was mangled I never brought you. I myself will bear the loss. From me you would exact it, whether it was stolen by day or stolen by night. This is how I was. By day scorching heat consumed me, and frost by night. My sleep drifted from my eyes. This is my 20 years in your household. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my wage 100 times. Had not the Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the dread of Isaac been with me, you would have surely now sent me away empty-handed. Yahweh saw my wretchedness and the toil of my hands, so he admonished you last night. Then Laban spoke up and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, and the flock is my flock, and all that you see is mine. Yet to my daughters, what could I do to them this day, or to their children who they are born? So now, come, let us make a covenant, I and you, and he shall be a witness between me and you. Then Jacob took a stone and raised it up as a monument. And Jacob said to his brethren, Gather stones. So they took stones and made a mound, and they ate there on the mound. Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. And Laban declared, This mound is a witness between me and you today. Therefore he called his name Galid. And as for the Mizpah, because he said, May Yahweh keep watch between me and you when we are out of each other's sight. If you will ill-treat my daughters, or if you will marry wives in addition to my daughters, though no man may be among us, but see, Yahweh is a witness between me and you. And Laban said to Jacob, Here is this mound, and here is the monument which I have cast between me and you. This mound shall be a witness, and the monument shall be witness, that I may not cross over to you to pass this mount. Nor may you cross over to me past this mount and this monument for evil. May the Elohim of Abraham and the God of Nahor judge between us, the God of their father. And Jacob swore by the dread of his father Isaac. Then Jacob slaughtered for a feast on the mount, and summoned his kinsmen to break bread. And they broke bread and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban awoke early in the morning. He kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban went and returned to his place, and Jacob on his way. And angels of Yahweh encountered him. Jacob said when he saw them, This is a godly camp. So he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Chapter 32. Oh, that was 32. I'm tripping. Verse 4. Then Jacob sent angels ahead of him to Esau, his brother, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. He charged them, saying, Thus shall you say to my lord to Esau, so said to your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and have lingered until now. I have acquired oxen and donkeys, flocks, servants, and maidservants, and I am sending to tell my lord to find favor in your eyes. The angels returned to Jacob, saying, We came to your brother to Esau. Moreover, he is headed towards you, and 400 men are with him. Jacob became very frightened, and it distressed him. So he divided the people with him, and the flocks, cattle, and camels into 2 camps. For he said, If Esau come to the one camp and strikes it down, then the remaining camp shall survive. Then Jacob said, Elohim of my father Abraham, and Elohim of my father Isaac, Yahweh, who said to me, Return to your land and to your relatives, and I will do good with you. I have been diminished by all the kindnesses and by all the truth that you have done your servant. For with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Rescue me, please, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him lest he come and strike me down, mother and children. And you have said, I will surely do good with you, and I will make your offspring like the sand of the sea, which is too numerous to count. He spent the night there. Then he took from that which had come in his hand a tribute to Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 nursing camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-donkeys and 10 he-donkeys. He put in the servants' charge each drove separately, and said to his servants, Pass on ahead of me, and leave a space between drove and drove. He instructed the first one, saying, When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, Who are you? Where are you going? And whose are these that these are before you? You shall say, Your servant Jacob's. It is a tribute sent to my lord to Esau, and behold, he himself is behind us. He similarly instructed the second, also the third, as well as all who follow the droves, saying, In this manner shall you speak to Esau when you find him. And you shall say, Moreover, Behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the tribute that precedes me, and afterwards I will face him. Perhaps he will forgive me. So the tribute passed on before him while he spent that night in the camp. But he got up that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 handmaids, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And when he took them and had them cross over the stream, he sent over his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he perceived that he could not overcome him, he struck the socket of his hip. So Jacob's hip socket was dislocated as he wrestled with him. Then he said, Let me go, for dawn has broken. And he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. He said to him, What is your name? He replied, Jacob. He said, No longer will be said that your name is Jacob, but Yasharal, for you have striven with the divine and with man, and have overcome. Then Jacob inquired, and he said, Divulge, if you please, your name. And he said, Why then do you inquire of my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen the divine face to face, yet my life was spared. The sun rose for him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping on his hip. Therefore the children of Yasharal are not to eat the displaced sinew on the hip socket to this day, because he struck Jacob's hip socket on the displaced sinew. Chapter 33. Jacob raised his eyes and saw, behold, Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 handmaids. He put the handmaids and their children first, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then he himself went on ahead of them and bowed eastward 7 times until he reached his brother. Esau ran towards him, embraced him, fell upon his neck, and kissed him. Then they wept. He raised his eyes and saw the women and children, and he asked, Who are these to you? He answered, The children whom Yahweh has graciously given your servant. Then the handmaids came forward, they and their children, and they bowed down. Leah too came forward with her children, and they bowed down. And afterwards Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed down. And he asked, What did you intend by that whole camp that I met? He answered, To gain favor in my Lord's eyes. Esau said, I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have remain yours. But Jacob said, No, I beg of you. If I have now found favor in your eyes, then accept my tribute from me. Inasmuch as I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face of a divine being, and you were appeased by me, please accept my gift which was brought to you. Inasmuch as Yahweh has been gracious to me, and inasmuch as I have everything. He urged him, and he accepted. And he said, Travel on and let us go. I will proceed alongside you. But he said to him, My Lord knows that the children are tender, and the nursing flocks and cattle are upon me. If they will be driven hard for a single day, then all the flocks will die. Let my Lord go. Let my Lord go ahead of his servant. I will make my way at the slow place according to the gate of the drove before me, and the gate of the children, until I come to my Lord at Seir. Then Esau said, Let me assign to you some of the people who are with me. And he said, To what purpose? Let me just have favor in the Lord's eyes. So Esau started back that day on his way towards Seir. Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built himself a house. And for his livestock he made shelters. He therefore called the name of the place Succoth. Jacob arrived intact at the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, upon his arriving from Padan Aram, and he encamped before the city. He bought the parcel of land upon which he pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 casitas. He set up an altar there and proclaimed, Elohim, the Elohim of Yasharal. Chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to look over the daughters of the land. Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the region, saw her. He took her, lay with her, and violated her. He became deeply attached to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the maiden and appealed to the maiden's emotions. So Shechem spoke to Hamor, his father, saying, Take me this girl for a wife. Then now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, while his sons were with his cattle in the field. So Jacob kept silent until their arrival. Hamor, Shechem's father, went out to Jacob to speak to him. Jacob's sons arrived from the field. When they had heard, the men were distressed and were deeply with indignation, for he had committed an outrage in Yasharal by lying with a daughter of Jacob. Such a thing may not be done. Hamor spoke with them, saying, Shechem, my son, longs deeply for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and intermarry with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. And among us you shall dwell. The land will be before you. Settle and trade in it, and acquire property in it. Then Shechem said to her father and brothers, Let me gain favor in your eyes, and whatever you tell me I will give. Inflate exceedingly upon me the marriage settlement and gifts, and I will give whatever you tell me. Only give me the maiden for a wife. Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor cleverly, and they spoke, because he had devoured their sister Dinah. They said to them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised, for that is a disgrace to us. Only on this occasion will we acquiesce to you, if you will become like us by letting every male among you become circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and take your daughters to ourselves. We will dwell with you, and become a single people. But if you will not listen to us to be circumcised, we will take our daughter and go. Their proposal seemed good in the view of Hamor, and in the view of Shechem, Hamor's son. The youth did not delay doing the thing, for he wanted Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most respected of all his father's household. Hamor with his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the people of their city, saying, Peaceable with us. Let them settle in the land and trade in it. For see, there is ample room in the land for them. Let us take their daughters for ourselves as wives and give our daughters to them. Only on this condition will the people acquiesce with us to dwell with us to become a single people, that all our males become circumcised as they themselves are circumcised. Their livestock, their possessions, and all their animals, will they not be ours? Only let us acquiesce to them, and they settle with us. All the people who depart through the gate of this city listen to Hamor and his son Shechem, and all the males, all those who depart through the gate of his city were circumcised. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, that two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took a sword, and they came upon the city confidently, and killed every male. And Hamor and Shechem his son they killed at the point of the sword. Then they took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and they plundered the city which had defiled their sister. Their flocks, their cattle, their donkeys, whatever was in the town, and whatever was in the field, they took. All their wealth, all their children and wives they took captive, and they plundered, as well as everything in the house. Jacob said to Simeon and to Levi, You have discomposed me, making me odious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanite and among the Perizzite. I am few in number, and they shall band together and attack me. I will be annihilated, I and my household. And they said, Should he treat our sister like a harlot? We're on 35, Sage, if you want to take over from now. Shalom, by the way.
Shalom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Uh, Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Genesis 35. Yah said to Jacob, Move on, go to Bethel and settle there. Make an altar there for Yah, who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau. Jacob said to his family and to all who were with him, Get rid of the foreign gods you have with you. Cleanse yourselves and change your clothes. We must move on and go to Bethel. There I shall make an altar for Yah, who heard me when I was in distress and gave me his help on the journey I made. They gave Jacob all the foreign gods in their possession and the earrings that they were wearing. Jacob buried them under the oak tree near Shechem. They broke camp. A divine terror struck the towns round about, and no one pursued the sons of Jacob. When Jacob arrived at Luz in Canaan, that is Bethel, and all the people with him. He built an altar there and named the place El Bethel, since it was there that Yah had appeared to him when he was fleeing from his brothers. Deborah, who had been Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried below Bethel under the oak tree. So they named it the Oak of Tears. Again, Yah appeared to Jacob on his return from Paddan Aram and blessed him. Yah said to him, "Your name is Jacob, but from now on you will not be called Jacob, but Israel." Thus he came by the name Israel. Yah said to him, "I am the Most High. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation, indeed, an assembly of nations will descend from you, and kings will issue from your loins. The country which I gave to Abraham, Isaac, I now give to you, and this country I shall give to your descendants after you." Then Yah went up from him. Jacob raised a monument at the spot where he had spoken to him, a standing stone on which he made a libation and poured oil. Jacob named the place Bethel, where Yah had spoken to him. They left Bethel. Watch out, baby. They left Bethel. Oh, goodness. And while they were still some distance from Ephrath, Ephrath, yeah, Rachel went into labor, and her pains were severe. When her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, "Do not worry, this is going to be another boy." At the moment when she breathed her last, for she was dying, she named him Ben-Oni. His father, however, named him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the road to Ephrath, near Bethlehem. Jacob raised a monument on her grave, that same monument of Rachel's tomb, which is there today. Israel left and pitched his tent beyond Migdal Eder, where Israel was living in the district. Reuben went and slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel found out. The sons of Jacob were now 12. The sons of Leah, Jacob's eldest son Reuben, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's slave girl, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's slave girl, Gad and Asher. These were the sons born to Jacob in Paddan Aram. Jacob came home to his father Isaac at Mamre, at Kirath Arba, now Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed. Isaac was 180 years old when he breathed his last. He died and was gathered to his people. An old man who had enjoyed his full span of life, his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. 36. These are the descendants of Esau, that is Edom. Esau chose his wives from the women of Canaan: Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite; Aholabamah, daughter of Anah, son of Zibeon the Horite; Basemah, daughter of Ishmael and sister of Nabor. Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau. Basemah bore Reuel. Oholabamah bore Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau born to him in Canaan. Esau took his wives, his sons and daughters, all the members of his household, his livestock, and all his cattle, and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and left for Seir, away from his brother Jacob. For they had acquired too much to live together. The land in which they were at that time could not support them both because of their livestock. That is why Edom settled in the mountains, the mountainous region of Seir. Esau is Edom. These are the descendants of Esau, ancestors of Edom in the mountainous region of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, son of Esau's wife Adah, and Reuel, son of Esau's wife Basemah. The sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omor, Zepho, Gatam, and Canaan. The sons of Esau had Timnah for concubine. The son of Eliphaz, son of Esau, had Timnah for concubine, and she bore him Amalek. These were the sons of Esau's wife Adah. These were the sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah, daughter of Anah, son of Zibeon. She bore him Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chieftains of Esau, the descendants of Eliphaz, Esau's eldest son, the chieftain of Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Gatam, and Amalek. These are the chieftains of Eliphaz and Edom, and are descended from Adah. The descendants of Esau, son Reuel, the chieftains of Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the chieftains of Reuel and Edom, and are descended from Esau's wife, Basamah. The descendants of Esau's wife, Oholibamah, the chieftains of Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chieftains of Esau's wife, Oholibamah, daughter of Anah. These were the sons of Esau, that is Edom, and these are their chieftains. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, natives of the country: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishah, Ezer, and Dishan. These were the Horite chieftains descended from Seir in Edom. The sons of Lotan were Hori and Hemam. The Lotan's sister was Timnah. These are the sons of Shobal: Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon: Ai, Anah, the Anah who found the hot springs in the desert while pasturing his father Zibeon's donkeys. These are the children of Anah, Dishan, and Olehabah, daughter of Anah. These are the sons of Dishan: Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Charan. These are the sons of Ezer: Belhan, Zaavan, and Akan. These are the sons of Dishan: Uz, and Aran. These are the Horite chieftains, the chieftains of Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishah, Ezer, and Dishan. These are the chieftains of the Horites by their clans in Mount Seir. These are the kings who reigned in Edom before an Israelite king. In Edom reigned Bela, son of Beor. His city was called Dinhabah. Bela died, and Jobab, son of Zerah from Basra, succeeded. Jobab died, and Husham from the land of Temanites succeeded him. Husham died, and Hadad, son of Bedad, succeeded him. He defeated the Midianites in Moab, and his city was called Avith. Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah succeeded. Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth Nahor succeeded. Shaul died, and Baal Hanan, son of Akbor, succeeded. Baal Hanan died, and Hadad succeeded. His city was called Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred from Mazahab. These are the names of the chieftains of Esau according to their clans and localities. The chieftains of Timnah, Alva, Jethet, Ohalabama, Elah, Pinan, Kenaz, Timan, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Aram. These are the chieftains of Edom that settled in the territory which they owned. Esau was Edom's ancestor. Genesis 37. But Jacob settled in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the story of Joseph. Joseph was 17 years old. As he was young, he was shepherding a flock with his brothers, with the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought his father's bad reports about them. Joseph, Jacob loved Joseph more than all his other sons, for he was the son of his old age, and he had a decorated tunic made for him. But his brothers, seeing how much more his father loved him than all the other sons, came to hate him so much that they could not say a civil word to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he repeated it to his brothers, who did hated him more than ever. Listen, he said, to the dream I had. We were binding sheaves in the field, when my sheaves suddenly rose and stood upright, and then your sheaves gathered round and bowed to my sheaves. So they want so you want to be king over us? His brothers retorted. You want to lord it over us? And they hated him even more on account of his dreams and of what he said. He had another dream, which he recounted to his brothers. Look, I have had another dream, he said. There were the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing down to me. He told his father and brothers, and his father scolded him. A fine dream to have, he said to him. Are all of us then, myself, your mother, and your brothers, to come and bow to the ground before you? His brothers held it against him, but his father pondered the matter. His brothers went to pasture their father's flock at Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, your brothers are with the flock at Shechem, aren't they? Come, I'm going to send you to them. I am ready, he replied. He said to him, go and see how your brothers and the flock are doing, and bring me word. He sent him from the valley of Abraham. And Joseph arrived at Shechem. A man found him wandering in the countryside and asked him, what are you looking for? What did you eat now? No. I am looking for my brothers, he replied. Please tell me where they are pasturing their flock. The man answered, they have moved on from here. Indeed, I heard them say, let us go to Dathan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dathan. When they saw him in the distance and before he reached them, they made a plot to kill him. Here comes that dreamer, they said to one another. Come, let us kill him now and throw him down one of the storage wheels. We can say that some wild animal has devoured him. Then we shall see what becomes of his dreams. But Reuben heard, and he saved him from their clutches. We must not take his life. Shed no blood, said Reuben to them. Throw him down the well out in the desert, but do not kill him yourselves, intending to save him from them and to restore him to his father. So when Joseph reached his brothers, they pulled off his tunic, the decorated tunic which he was wearing, and catching hold of him, threw him into the well. The well was empty with no water in it. They then sat down to eat. Looking up, they saw a group of Ishmaelites who were coming from Gilead, their camels laden with gum, tragacana, balsam, and resin, which they were taking to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, what do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. Then we shall not have laid hands on him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh. His, his brothers agreed. Now some Midianite merchants were passing, and they pulled Joseph out of the well. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver, and these men took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben went back to the well, there was no sign of Joseph. Tearing his clothes, he went back. He went back. Yes, son. It went back. Oh man. Reuben went back to the well, but there was no sign of Joseph. Tearing his clothes, he went back to his brother. The boy has gone, he said. What am I going to do? They took Joseph's tunics and slaughtered the goat, dipped the tunic in blood. Then they set off the decorated tunic and hated it, and had it taken to their father with the message, this is what we have found. Do you recognize it as your son's tunic or not? He recognized it and cried, my son's tunic, a wild animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces, tearing his clothes and putting sackcloth around his waist. Jacob mourned his son for many days. All his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. No, he said, I will go down to Sheol in mourning and join my son. Thus his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites who had sold him to the Egyptians in Panama, who had sold him to Egypt and to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials and commander of the guard. Take over my brother here.
Got you. Chapter 38. It was at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned away toward an Adullamite man whose name was Harah. There Judah saw the daughter of a prominent merchant whose name was Shua. He married her and consorted with her. She conceived and bore a son, and he called his name She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And yet again, and she bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And it was in Chazir when she bore him. Judah took a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in the eyes of Yah, and Yahweh caused him to die. Then Judah said to Onan, consort with your brother's wife and enter into levirate marriage with her, and establish offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the seed would not be his. So it was that whenever he would consort with his brother's wife, he would let it go to waste on the ground, so as not to provide offspring for his brother. What he did was evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and he caused him to die also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your house, in your father's house, until my son Shelah grows up. For he thought, lest he also die like his brothers. So Tamar went and lived in her father's house. Many days passed, and Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. When Judah was consoled, he went up to oversee the sheep shears, and he and his Adullamite friend Hirah to Timnah. And Tamar was told as follows, behold, your father-in-law is coming to Timnah to shear his sheep. So she removed her widow's garb from upon her, covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself up. She then sat by the crossroads which is on the road toward Timnah, and she saw that Shelah had grown, and she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, since she had covered her face. So he detoured to her by the road and said, come, if you please, let me consort with you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what will you give me if you consort with me? He replied, I will send you a kid of the goats from the flock. And she said, provided you leave a pledge until you send it. And he said, what pledge shall I give you? She replied, your signet, your wrap, and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave them to her, and consorted with her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose, left, and removed her veil from upon her, and she put on her widow's garb. Judah sent the kid of the goats through his friend, the Adullamite, to retrieve the pledge from the woman, but he did not find her. He inquired of the people of their place, saying, where is the prostitute, the one at the crossroads by the road? And they said, there was no prostitute here. So he returned to Judah and said, I did not find her. Even the local men said there was no prostitute here. So Judah said, let her keep them, lest we become a laughing stock. I really sent her this kid, but you could not find her. And it was when about 3 months had passed that Judah was told, your daughter-in-law Tamar has committed a harlotry, and moreover, she has conceived by harlotry. Judah said, take her out and let her be burned. And she was taken out. She sent word to her father-in-law, saying, by the man to whom these belong, I am with child. And she said, identify, if you please, whose are this signet, this wrap, and this staff. Judah recognized, and he said, she is right, it is from me, inasmuch as I did not give her to Shelah my son, and he was not intimate with her any more. And it came to pass at that time she gave birth, that behold, there were twins in her womb. And it happened that as she gave birth, one put out a hand. The midwife took a crimson thread and tied it on his hand, saying, this one emerged first. And it was, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother emerged. And she said, with what strength you asserted yourself? And he called his name Perez. Afterwards, his brother on whose hand was the crimson thread came out, and he called his name Zerah. And Joseph had been brought down to Egypt. Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh, the chamberlain of the butchers, a prominent Egyptian, purchased him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. Yahweh was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he remained in the house of his Egyptian master. His master perceived that Yahweh was with him, and whatever he did, Yahweh made succeed in his hand. Joseph found favor in his eyes, and he attended him. He appointed him over his household, and whatever he had placed in his custody. And it happened that from the time he appointed him in his house, and over whatever he had, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house on Joseph's account, so that Yahweh's blessing was in whatever he owned, in the house and in the field. He left all that he had in Joseph's custody, and with him present he concerned himself with nothing except for the bread he ate. Now Joseph was handsome of form and handsome of appearance. After these things, his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." But he adamantly refused. He said to his master's wife, "Look, with me here, my master concerns himself about nothing in the house, and whatever he has, he placed in my custody. There is no one greater in this house than I, and he has denied me nothing but you, since you are his wife. How then can I penetrate this great evil and have sinned against Yahweh?" And so it was, just as she coaxed Joseph day after day, so he would not listen to her, to lie beside her, to be with her. Then there was an opportune day when he entered the house to do his work, no man of the household staff being there in the house, that she caught hold of him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand, and he fled, and went outside. When she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, she called out to the men of her household and spoke to them, saying, "Look, he brought us a Hebrew man to sport with us. He came to lie with me, but I called out with a loud scream. And when he heard that I raised my voice and screamed, he left his garment beside me, fled, and went outside." She kept his garment beside her until his master came home. Then she told us a similar account, saying, "The Hebrew slave whom you brought to us came to me to sport with me. But it happened that when I raised my voice and screamed, he left his garment beside me and ran outside. And it was when his master heard his wife's words which he spoke to him, saying, 'Your slave did things like these to me,' his anger flared up. Then Joseph's master took him and placed him in the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he remained there in prison. Yahweh was with Joseph, and he endowed him with charisma, and he put his favor in the eyes of the prison warden. The prison warden placed all inmates of the prison in Joseph's custody, and everything that was done there he would accomplish. The prison warden did not scrutinize anything that was in his charge, inasmuch as Yahweh was with him, and whatever he did, Yahweh made successful. And it happened, chapter 40. And it happened after these things that the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and the baker transgressed against their master, against the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was enraged at his two courtiers, the chamberlain of the cupbearers and the chamberlain of the bakers. And he placed them in the ward of the house of the chamberlain of the butchers into the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. The chamberlain of the butchers appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them, and they remained in the ward for a period of days. The two of them dreamt a dream. Each one had this dream on the same night, each one according to his interpretation of his dream. The cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison. Joseph came to them in the morning. He saw them, and behold, they were aggrieved. And he asked Pharaoh's courtiers who were with him in the ward of his master's house, saying, "Why do you appear downcast today?" And they said to him, "We dreamt a dream, but there is no interpreter for it." So Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to Yah? Relate it to me, if you please." Then the chamberlain of the cupbearers recounted his dream to Joseph, and said to him, "In my dream, behold, there was a grapevine in front of me. On the grapevine there were three tendrils, and it was as though it budded. Its blossoms bloomed, and its clusters ripened in the grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I placed the cup on Pharaoh's palm." Joseph said to him, "This is its interpretation. The three tendrils are 3 days. In another 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head and will restore you to your post, and you will place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, as was the former practice when you were his cupbearer. If only you would think of me with yourself when he benefits you, and you will do me a kindness. If you please and mention me to Pharaoh, then you will take me out of this building. For indeed I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and even here have I done nothing for them to put me in the pit. The chamberlain of the bakers saw that he had interpreted well. So he said to Joseph, I too, in my dream, behold, 3 wicker baskets were on my head, and in the uppermost basket were all kinds of Pharaoh's food, baker's handiwork, and the birds were eating them from the basket above my head. Joseph responded and said, This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days Pharaoh will lift your head from you and hang you on a tree. Birds will eat your flesh from you. And it was on the 3rd day, Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants, and he counted the chamberlain of the cupbearers and the chamberlain of the bakers among his servants. He restored the chamberlain of the cupbearers to his cupbearing, and he placed the cup on Pharaoh's palm. But he hanged the chamberlain on the bakers, just as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chamberlain of the cupbearers did not remember Joseph, but he forgot him. Chapter 41. Shalom, Terrell. It happened at the end of 2 years to the day Pharaoh was dreaming that, behold, he was standing over the river, when, behold, out of the river there emerged 7 cows, of beautiful appearance and robust flesh, and they were grazing in the marshland. Then, behold, 7 other cows emerged, and they after them out of the river, of ugly appearance and gaunt flesh, and they stood next to the cows on the bank of the river. The cows of ugly appearance and gaunt flesh ate the 7 cows of beautiful appearance and robust, and Pharaoh awoke. He fell asleep and dreamt a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on a single stalk, healthy and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind, were growing after them. Then the thin ears swallowed up the 7 healthy and full ears. Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it had been a dream. And it was in the morning, his spirit was agitated. So he sent and summoned all the necromancers of Egypt, and all its wise men. Pharaoh relayed his dream to them, but none could interpret them for Pharaoh. Then the chamberlain of the cupbearer spoke up before Pharaoh, saying, My transgressions do I mention today. Pharaoh had become incensed at his servants and placed me in the ward of the house of the chamberlain of the butchers, me and the chamberlain of the bakers. We dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he, each one according to the interpretation of his dream did we dream. And there with us was a Hebrew youth, a slave of the chamberlain of the butchers. We related it to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. He interpreted each in accordance with his dream. And it was that just as he interpreted for us, so did it happen. Me he restored to my post, and him he hanged. So Pharaoh sent and summoned Joseph, and they rushed him from the dungeon. He shaved and changed his clothes, and he came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I dreamt a dream, but no one can interpret it. Now I heard it said of you that you comprehend the dream to interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, That is beyond me. It is Yahweh who will respond with Pharaoh's welfare. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, In my dream, behold, I was standing upon the bank of the river, and behold, out of the river there emerged 7 cows of robust flesh and beautiful form, and they were grazing in the marshland. Suddenly, 7 other cows emerged after them, scrawny and of very inferior form and emaciated flesh. I have never seen inferiority like theirs in all the land of Egypt. And the emaciated and inferior cows ate up the first 7 healthy cows, and they came inside them, but it was not apparent that they had come inside them, for their appearance remained as inferior as at first. Then I awoke. Then I saw my dream. Behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on a single stalk, full and good, and suddenly 7 ears of grain with it, thin and scorched by the east wind, were growing after them. Then the thin ears of grain swallowed up the 7 good ears. I said this to the necromancers, but no one could explain it to me. Joseph said to Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is a single one. What Yahweh is about to do, he has told the Pharaoh. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. It is a single dream. Now the 7 emaciated and bad cows who emerge after them, they are 7 years, as are the 7 emaciated ears scorched by the east wind. There shall be 7 years of famine. It is this matter that I have spoken to Pharaoh. What Yahweh is about to do, he has shown to Pharaoh. Behold, 7 years are coming, a great abundance throughout all the land of Egypt. Then 7 years of famine will arise after them, and all the abundance in the land of Egypt will be forgotten. The famine will ravage the land, and the abundance will be unknown in the land in the face of the subsequent famine, for it will be terribly severe. As for the repetition of the dream to Pharaoh 2 times, it is because the matter stands ready before Yahweh, and Yahweh is hastening to accomplish. Now let Pharaoh seek out a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed and let him appoint overseers on the land, and he shall prepare the land of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. And he let them gather all the food for all the food of those approaching good years. Let them amass grain under Pharaoh's authority for food in the cities, and safeguard it. The food will be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine, which will befall the land of Egypt, so that the land will not perish in the famine. The matter appeared good in Pharaoh's eyes, and in the eyes of all his servants. Pharaoh said to his servant, could we find another like him, a man in whom is the spirit of Yahweh? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since Yahweh has informed you of all this, there can be no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and by your command shall all my people be sustained. Only by the throne shall I outrank you. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have placed you in charge of all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh removed his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. Then he had him dressed in garments of fine linen, and he placed a gold chain upon his neck. He also had him ride in his second chariot, and they proclaimed before him, Avrek. Thus he appointed him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without you no man may lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphanath Paneah, and he gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, chief of On, for a wife. Thus Joseph emerged in charge of the land of Egypt. Now Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Joseph left Pharaoh's presence, and he passed through the entire land of Egypt. The earth produced during these 7 years of abundance by the handfuls. He gathered all food of the 7 years that came to pass in the land of Egypt, and he placed food in the cities. The food of the field around each city he placed within it. Joseph amassed grain like the sand of the sea in great abundance until he ceased counting, for there was no number. Now to Joseph were born 2 sons, when the year of famine had not yet set in, whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, chief of On, bore to him. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Yahweh has made me forget all my hardship and all my father's household. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for Yahweh has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The 7 years of abundance that came to pass in the land of Egypt ended, and the 7 years of famine began approaching, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. When all the land of Egypt hungered, the people cried out to Pharaoh for bread. So Pharaoh said to all of Egypt, go to Joseph. Whatever he tells you, you should do. When the famine spread over all the face of the earth, Joseph opened all the containers and sold provisions to Egypt, and the famine became severe in the land of Egypt. All the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy provisions, for the famine had become severe in all the earth. Chapter 42. Shalom. This is Tia. If you want to come up and read, feel free, raise your hand. Sage, if you're good to read. If not, I'll continue. In chapter 42. Jacob perceived that there were provisions in Egypt. So Jacob said to his sons, why do you make yourselves conspicuous? And he said, behold, I have heard that there are provisions in Egypt. Go down there and purchase for us from there, that we may live and not die. So Joseph's brothers, 10 of them, went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob, did not send along among with his brothers, for he said, lest disaster befall him. So the sons of Yasharal came to buy provisions among the arrivals, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph, he was the viceroy of the land. He was the provider to all the people of the land. Joseph's brothers came, and they bowed to him, faces to the ground. Joseph saw his brothers, and he recognized them, but he acted like a stranger toward them, and spoke with them harshly. He asked them, "From where have you come?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Joseph recalled the dreams that he dreamed about them, and he said to them, "You are spies. To see the land's nakedness have you come." They answered him, "Not so, my lord, for your servants have come to buy food, all of us. Sons of one man are we. We are truthful people. Your servants have never been spies." And he said to them, "No, but the land's nakedness have you come to see." And they replied, "We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is gone." Salaki. But Joseph said to them, "It is just as I have declared to you, saying, You are spies. By this shall you be tested. By Pharaoh's life you will not leave here unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother while you remain in prison, so that your words may be tested whether truth is with you. But if not, by Pharaoh's life, surely you are spies." Then he herded them into a ward for a 3-day period. Joseph said to them on the third day, "Do this and live. I fear Yahweh. If you are truthful people, let one of your brothers be imprisoned in your place of confinement, while you go and bring provisions for the hunger of your households. Then bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you will not die." And they did so. Then they said to one another, "Indeed, we are guilty concerning our brother, inasmuch as we saw his heartfelt anguish when he pleaded with us, and we paid no heed. That is why this anguish has come upon us." Reuben spoke up and said to them, saying, "Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the boy? But you will not listen, and his blood as well, behold, is being avenged." Now they did not know that Joseph understood, for an interpreter was between them. He turned away from them and wept. He returned to them and spoke to them. He took Simeon from them and imprisoned him before their eyes. Joseph commanded that they fill their vessels with grain, and to return their money, each one to his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. And so he did for them. Then they loaded their purchase onto their donkeys and departed from there. When the one of them opened his sack to give feed to his donkey at the end, he saw his money, and behold, it was in the mouth of his sack. So he said to his brothers, "My money has been returned, and behold, it too is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, "What is this that Yahweh has done to us?" They came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, and they told him of all that happened to them, saying, "The man, the Lord of the land, spoke harshly to us, and considered us as if we were spying out the land. But we said to him, We are truthful men. We have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is gone, and the youngest is now with our father in the land of Canaan." Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, "By this I will ascertain whether you are truthful people. One of your brothers leave with me, and what is needed for the hunger of your households, take and go. And bring your youngest brother to me, so I will know that you are not spies, but truthful people. I will restore your brother to you, and you will be free to circulate about the land." Then, as they were emptying their sacks, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. When they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were terrified. Their father Jacob said to them, "I am the one whom you bereaved. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now would you take away Benjamin? Upon me it has fallen. It has all fallen." Then Reuben told his father, saying, "You may slay my 2 sons if I fail to bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will return him to you." But he said, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. Should disaster befall him on the journey which you shall take, then you will have brought down from my holiness in the sorrow to the grave." Chapter 43. The famine was severe in the land. When they had finished eating the provisions which they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back, buy us some food." But Judah told him, saying, "The man sternly warned us, saying, Do not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you are ready to send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you do not send, we will not go down. For the man said to us, Do not see my face unless your brother is with you." Then Yasharal said, "Why did you treat me so ill by telling the man that you had another brother?" And they said, "The man persistently asked about us and our relatives, saying, Is your father still alive? Have you a brother? And we responded to him according to these words. Could we possibly have known that he would say, bring your brother down? Then Judah said to Yasharal, his father, send the lad with me, and let us arise and go, so we will live and not die. We as well as you, as well as our children, I will personally guarantee him. Of my own hand you can demand him. If I do not bring him back to you and stand him before you, then I will have sinned to you for all time. For we had not delayed. Had we not delayed, by now we could have returned twice. Yasharal their father said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take of the land's glory and your baggage, and bring it down to the man as a tribute. A bit of balsam, a bit of honey, wax, lotus, pistachios, and almonds. And take with you double the money, and the money that was returned in the mouth of your sex return in your hands. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take your brother and arise, return to the man. And may El Shaddai grant you mercy before the man, that he may release you, your brother, as well as your other brother, as well as Benjamin. As for me, as I have been bereaved, so I am bereaved. So the men took this tribute, and they took double money in their hand, as well as Benjamin. They set out and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. Joseph saw Benjamin with them, so he said to one in charge of his house, bring the men into the house, have meat slaughtered and prepared. For with me will these men dine at noon. The man did as Joseph said, and the man brought the men to Joseph's house. But the men became frightened when they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money we placed in our sacks, originally are we being brought, so that a charge may be fabricated against us, that it crash down on us, and that we be taken as slave along with our donkeys. They approached the man who was in charge of Joseph's house, and spoke to him at the entrance of the house. And they said, if you please, my lord, we had indeed come down originally to buy food. But it happened, when we arrived at the inn and opened our sacks, that behold, each one's money was in the mouth of his sack. It was our own money in its full amount, so we have brought it back into our hand. We have also brought other money down in our hand to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks. He replied, peace with you. Fear not. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father has put a hidden treasure in your sacks. Your payment had reached me. And he brought Simeon out to them. Then the man brought the men into Joseph's house. He provided water, and they washed their feet, and he gave feed into their donkeys. They prepared the tribute for when Joseph would come at noon, for they had heard that they were to eat a meal there. When Joseph came to the house, they brought the tribute that was in their hands to him to the house, and they prostrated themselves to him toward the ground. He inquired after their welfare, and he said, is your aged father of whom you spoke at peace? Is he still alive? They replied, your servant, our father, is at peace. He still lives. And they bowed and prostrated themselves. Then he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. So he said, is this your little brother of whom you spoke to me? And he said, Yahweh be gracious to you, my son. Then Joseph rushed because of his compassion, for his brother had been stirred, and he wanted to weep. So he went into the room and wept there. He washed his face, and he went out, fortified himself, and said, serve food. They served him separately, and them separately, and the Egyptians who ate with him separately. For the Egyptians could not bear to eat food with the Hebrews, it being loathsome to Egyptians. They were seated before him, the firstborn according to his seniority, and the youngest according to his youth. The men looked at one another in astonishment. He had portions that had been set before him served to them, and Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as the portion of any of them. They drank and became intoxicated with him. Chapter 44. Then he instructed the one in charge of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack. In my goblet, the silver goblet, place in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the money of his purchase. And he followed Joseph's word exactly. The day dawned, and the men were sent off, they and their donkeys. They had left the city and had not gone far, when Joseph said to the one in charge of his house, get up, chase after the men. When you overtake them, you are to say to them, why do you repay evil for good? Is this not the one from which my master drinks, and with which he regularly divines? You have done evil in how you acted. He overtook them and spoke those words to them. And they said to him, Why does my Lord say such things? It will be sacrilegious for your servants to do such a thing. Here, look, the money that we found in the mouth of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we have stolen from your master's house any silver or gold? Anyone among your servants with whom it is found shall die, and we also will become slaves to my Lord. He replied, What you say now is also correct. The one with whom it is found shall be my slave, but the rest of you shall be exonerated. Hurriedly, each one lowered his sack to the ground, and each one opened his sack. He searched. He began with the oldest and ended with the youngest, and the goblet was found in Benjamin's sack. They rent their garments. Each one reloaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. When Judah arrived with his brothers to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, What is this deed that you have done? Do you not realize that a man like me practices divination? So Judah said, What can we say, my lord? How can we speak? And how can we justify ourselves? Yahweh has uncovered the sin of your servants. Here we are. We are ready to be slaves to my lord, both we and the one in whose hand the goblet was found. But he replied, It will be sacrilegious for me to do this. The man in whose possession the goblet was found, only he shall be my slave. And as for you, go up in peace to your father. Then Judah approached him and said, If you please, my lord, may your servant speak a word in my lord's ears, and not let not your anger flare up at your servant, for you are like Pharaoh. My lord has asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my lord, We have an old father and a young child of his age. His brother is dead. He alone is left from his mother, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, and I will set my eye on him. We said to my lord, The youth cannot leave his father, for should he leave his father, he will die. But you said to your servants, If your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not see my face again. And it was when we went up to your servant, my father, we told him my Lord's words. And our father said, Go back and buy us some food. We said, We cannot go down only if our youngest brother is with us. Then we will go down, for we cannot see the man's face if our youngest brother is not with us. Then your servant, my father, said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One has left me, and I presumed, alas, he has surely been torn to pieces, for I have not seen him since. So should you take this one too from my presence, and disaster befall him, then you will have brought down my holiness and evil to the grave. And now, if I come to your servant my father, and the youth is not with us, since his soul is so bound up with his soul, it will happen that when he sees the youth is missing, he will die, and your servants will have brought down the holiness of your servant our father in sorrow to the grave. For your servant took responsibility for the youth from my father, saying, If I do not bring him back to you, then I will have sinned to my father for all time. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the youth as a servant to my Lord, and let the youth go up with his brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the youth is not with me, lest I see the evil that will befall my father? Chapter 45. Now Joseph could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him, so he called out, Remove everyone from before me. Thus no one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He cried in a loud voice. Egypt heard, and Pharaoh's household heard. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, because they were left disconcerted before him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Come close to me, if you please. And they came close. And he said, I am Joseph, your brother. It is me whom you sold into Egypt. And now be not distressed, nor reproach yourselves for having sold me here, for it was to be a provider that Yahweh sent me ahead of you. For this has been 2 of the hungry years in the midst of the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there shall be neither plowing nor harvest. Thus Yahweh has sent me ahead of you to ensure your survival in the land and to sustain you for a momentous deliverance. And now it was not you who sent me here, but Yahweh. He has made me father to Pharaoh, master of his entire household, and ruler throughout the entire land of Egypt. Hurry, go up to my father and say to him, so said your son Joseph, Yahweh has made me master of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You will reside in the land of Goshen, and you will be near to me, you, your sons, your grandchildren, your flock, and your cattle, and all that is yours. And I will provide for you there, for there will be 5 more years of famine, so you do not become destitute, you, your household, and all that is yours. Behold, your eyes see as do the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is in my mouth, that it is my mouth that is speaking to you. Therefore, tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and all that you saw. But you must hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. Then he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. Afterwards his brothers conversed with him. The news was heard in Pharaoh's palace, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. And it was pleasing in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants. Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this. Load up your animals and go directly to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. And you are commanded to say, do this. Take for yourselves from the land of Egypt wagons for your small children and for your wives. Transport your father and come, and let your eye not take pity on your belongings. For the best of all the land of Egypt, it will be yours. The sons of Yasharal did so, and Joseph gave them wagons by Pharaoh's word, and he gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave changes of clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothing. And to his father he sent the following: 10 he-donkeys laden with the best of Egypt, and 10 she-donkeys laden with grain, bread, and food for his father for the journey. And he sent off his brothers, and they went. He said to them, do not become agitated on the way. They went up from Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and that he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. But his heart rejected it, for he could not believe him. However, when they related to him all the words that Joseph had spoken to them, and he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to transport him, then the spirit of their father Yasharal was revived. And Yasharal said, how great, my son Joseph still lives. I shall go and see him before I die. 46. So Yasharal set out with all that he had, and he came to Beersheba, where he slaughtered sacrifices to Yahweh of his father Isaac. Yahweh spoke to Yasharal in night visions, and he said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am. And he said, I am the Elohim, Elohim of your father. Have no fear of descending to Egypt, for I shall establish you as a great nation there. I shall descend with you to Egypt, and I shall surely bring you up, and Joseph shall place his hand on your eyes. So Yasharal arose from Beersheba. The sons of Yasharal transported Jacob, their father, as well as their young children and wives, in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to transport them. They took their livestock and their wealth which they had amassed in the land of Canaan, and they came to Egypt. Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons and grandsons with him, his daughters and granddaughters, and all his offspring he brought with him to Egypt. Now these are the names of the children of Yasharal who were coming to Egypt: Jacob and his children. Jacob's firstborn, Reuben, Reuben's son, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's sons, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jakin, Zohar, Shaul, son of the Canaanite woman. Levi's sons, Gershon, Kohath, Merari. Judah's sons, Omnan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan had died in the land of Canaan, and Perez's sons were Hezron and Hamul. Issachar's sons, Tola, Puva, Eov, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons, Sered, Elon, and Jalil. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Padan Aram, in addition to Dinah and his daughter. All the people, his sons and daughters, number 33. Gad's sons: Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. Asher's sons: Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Bariah, and their sister Sarah, and Bariah's sons: Heber and Machiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban had given to Leah his daughter. These she bore to Jacob, 16 people, the sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. To Joseph were born in the land of Egypt, whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, chief of On, bore to him, Manasseh and Ephraim. Benjamin's sons: Bilhah, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ahi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. Dan's sons: Hushim. Naphtali's sons: Jazeel, Guni, Jazir, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban had given to Rachel his daughter. She bore these to Jacob, 7 people in all. All the persons coming with Jacob to Egypt, his own descendants, aside from the wives of Jacob's sons, 66 persons in all. And Joseph's sons who were born to him in Egypt numbered 2 persons. All the people of Jacob's household who came to Egypt, 70. He sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to prepare ahead of him in Goshen, and they arrived in the region of Goshen. Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. He appeared before him, fell on his neck, and he wept on his neck excessively. Then Yasharal said to Joseph, "Now I can die, after having seen your face, because you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and I will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were in the land of Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds, for they have been cattlemen, their flocks and cattle, and everything they own they have brought. And it shall be, when Pharaoh summons you and says, 'What is your occupation?' then you ought to say, 'Your servants have been cattlemen from our youth till now, both we and our forefathers,' so that you may be able to settle on the region of Goshen, since all shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians." Chapter 47. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh, and he said, "My father and my brothers, their flocks, their cattle, and everything they own have arrived from the land of Canaan, and they are now in the region of Goshen." From the least of his brothers he took 5 men and presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to his brothers, "What is your occupation?" They answered Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, we as well as our forefathers." And they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to sojourn in the land, since there is no grazing for your servants' flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now, if you please, allow your servants to dwell in the region of Goshen." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, saying, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you, and in the best part of the land settle your father and your brothers. Let them settle in the region of Goshen. And if you know that there are capable men among them, appoint them as chamberlains over the livestock that belongs to me." Then Joseph brought Jacob, his father, and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" Jacob answered Pharaoh, "The days of the years of my sojourns have been 130 years. Few and bad have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not reached the lifespans of my forefathers in the days of their sojourns." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and left Pharaoh's presence. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers, and he gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best part of the land, in the region of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph sustained his father and his brothers and all of his father's household with food according to the children. Now there was no bread in all the earth, for the famine was very severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan became weary from hunger. Joseph gathered all the money that was to be found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan through the provisions that they were purchasing. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's palace. And when the money was exhausted from the land of Egypt and from the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph, saying, Give us bread. Why should we die in your presence? For the money is gone. And Joseph said, Bring your livestock, and I will provide for you in return for your livestock if the money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in return for the horses, for the flocks of sheep and the herds of cattle, and for the donkeys. Thus he provided them with bread in exchange for all the livestock during that year. And when that year ended, they came to him in the next year and said to him, We will not withhold from my lord that with the money and the flocks of cattle having been exhausted to my lord. Nothing is left before my lord but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Acquire us and our land for bread, and we, with our land, will become serfs to Pharaoh, and provide seed so that we may live and not die, and the land will not become desolate. Thus Joseph acquired all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for every Egyptian sold his field, because the famine had overwhelmed them, and the land became Pharaoh's. As for the nation, he resettled it by cities, from one end of Egypt's borders to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, since the priests had stipend from Pharaoh, and they lived off their stipend that Pharaoh had given them. Therefore they did not sell their land. Joseph said to the people, Look, I have acquired you this day with your land for Pharaoh. Here receive for you sold the land. At the ingathering of the harvest you will give a fifth to Pharaoh. The other 4 parts shall be yours, as seed for the field, and food for yourselves, and for those in your household, and to feed your young ones. And they said, You have saved our lives. May we find favor in your eyes, my lord, and we will be serfs to Pharaoh. So Joseph imposed it as a statute to this day regarding the land of Egypt. It was Pharaoh's for the fifth. Only the priest's land alone did not become Pharaoh's. Thus Yasharal settled in the land of Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property in it, and they were fruitful and multiplied greatly. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. The time approached for Yasharal to die, so he called for his son Joseph, and said to him, Please, if I have found favor in your eyes, please place your hand under my thigh, and do kindness and truth for me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, for I will lie down with my fathers, and you shall transport me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb. He said, I personally will do as you have said. He replied, Swear to me. And he swore to him. Then Yasharal prostrated himself towards the head of the bed. Chapter 48. And it came to pass after these things that someone said to Joseph, Behold, your father is ill. So he took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, with him. Jacob was told, Behold, your son Joseph had come to you. So Israel exerted himself and sat up on the bed. Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai appeared to me in Luz in the land of Canaan, and he blessed me. He said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and numerous. I will make you a congregation of nations, and I will give this land to your offspring after you as an eternal possession. And now your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before my coming to you in Egypt, shall be mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, like Reuben and Simeon. But progeny born to you after them shall be yours. They will be included under my name of their brothers with regard to their inheritance. But as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died on me in the land of Canaan on the road, while there was still a stretch of land to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the road to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Then Israel saw Joseph's sons, and he said, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, These are my sons whom Yahweh has given me here. He said, Bring them to me if you please, and I will bless them. Now Jacob's eyes were heavy with age. He could not see. So he brought them near him and kissed them and hugged them. Jacob said to Joseph, I dare not accept the thought that I would see your face, and here Yahweh has shown me even your offspring. Joseph then removed them from his knees, and he prostrated himself with his face towards the ground. Joseph took the two of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Jacob's left, and Manasseh with his left to Jacob's right, and he drew close to them. But Jacob extended his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, though he was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head. He maneuvered his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. He blessed Joseph, and he said, O Yahweh, before whom my forefathers Abraham and Isaac walked, Elohim, who shepherds me from my inception until this day, may the angel who redeems me from all evil bless the last, and may my name be declared upon him, and the names of my forefathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they proliferate abundantly like fish within the land. Joseph saw that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, and it displeased him. So he supported his father's hand to remove it from upon Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, father, for this is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head. But his father refused, saying, I know, my son, I know. He too will become a people, and he too will become great. Yet his younger brother shall become greater than he, and his offspring's fame will fill the nations. So he blessed them that day, saying, But you by you shall Yasharal bless, saying, May Yahweh make you like Ephraim and like Manasseh. And he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, Behold, I am about to die. Yahweh will be with you and will bring you back to the land of your fathers. And as for me, I have given you Shechem, one portion more than your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. Then Jacob called for his sons and said, Assemble yourselves, and I will tell you what will befall you in the end of days. Gather yourselves and listen, O sons of Jacob, and listen to Yasharal, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength and my initial vigor, foremost in rank and foremost in power, water-like impetuosity. You cannot be foremost because you mounted your father's bed. Then you desecrated him who ascended on my couch. Simeon and Levi are comrades. Their weaponry is a stolen craft. Into their conspiracy may my soul not enter. With their with their congregation, do not join. O my honor. For in their rage they murdered people, and at their whim they hamstrung an ox. Accursed is their rage, for it is intense, and their wrath for it is harsh. I will separate them within Jacob, and I will disperse them in Yasharal. Judah, you your brothers shall acknowledge. Your hand will be at your enemy's nape. Your father's sons will prostrate themselves to you. A lion's cub is Judah. From the prey, my son, you elevate yourself. He crouches, he lies down like a lion, and like an awesome lion. Who dares rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a scholar from among his descendants, until Shiloh arrives, and his will be an assemblage of nations. He will tie his donkey to the vine branch his donkey's foal. He will launder his garments in wine, and his robe in the blood of grapes. Red eye from wine, and white suit from milk. Zebulun shall settle by seashores. He shall be at the ship's harbor, and his last border will reach Zidon. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey. He rests between the boundaries. He saw tranquility that it was good, and the land that it was pleasant. Yet he bent his shoulder to bear, and he became an indentured laborer. Dan will avenge his people. The tribes of Israel will be united as one. Dan will be a serpent on the highway, a viper by the path that bites a horse's heels so its rider falls backwards. For your salvation do I long, O Yahweh. Gad will recruit a regiment, and it will retreat on its hill. From Asher, his bread will have richness, and he will provide kingly delicacies. Naphtali is a hind let loose who delivers beautiful sayings. A charming son is Joseph, a charming son to the eye. Each of the daughters climbed heights to gaze. They embittered him and became antagonists. The arrow-tongued men hated. But his bow was firmly in place, and his arms were gilded. From the hands of the mighty power of Jacob, from there he shepherded the stone of Israel. That was, from the Elohim of your father, he will help you, and with Shaddai, and he will bless you, with blessings from heaven above, blessings of the deep crouching below, blessings of the bosom and womb. The blessings of your father surpass the blessings of my parents to the endless bounds of the world's hills. Let them be upon Joseph's head, and upon the head of the exile from his borders. Benjamin is a predatory wolf. In the morning he will devour prey, and in the evening he will distribute spoils. All these are the tribes of Yasharal, 12. And this is what their father spoke to them, and he blessed them. He blessed each according to his appropriate blessing. Then he instructed them and said to them, I shall be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephraim the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which faces Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as a burial estate. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. Purchase of the field, and the cave within it was from the sons of Heth. When Jacob finished instructing his sons, he drew his feet onto the bed. He expired and was gathered to his people. All right, we made it to chapter 50. Last one, y'all. Then Joseph fell upon his father's face. He wept over him and kissed him. Joseph ordered his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel, Jacob. His 40-day term was completed, for such is the term of the embalmed, and Egypt bewailed him for 70 days. When his bewailing period passed, Joseph spoke to Pharaoh's household, saying, If you please, if I have found favor in your eyes, speak now in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father had adjured me, saying, Behold, I am about to die. In my grave, which I have hewn for myself in the land of Canaan, there are you to bury me. Now I will go up, if you please, and bury my father. Then I will return. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he adjured you. So Joseph went up to bury his father. And with him went up all of Pharaoh's servants, the elders of his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all of Joseph's households, his brothers and his father's household. Only their young children, their flocks, and their cattle did they leave in the region of Goshen. And he brought up with him both chariots and horsemen, and the camp was very imposing. They came to Goren Ha'adad, Ha'atah, which is across the Jordan, and there they held a very great and imposing eulogy. And he ordained a 7-day mourning period for his father. When the Canaanite inhabitants of the land saw the mourning in Goren Ha'atah, they said, This is a grievous mourning for Egypt. Therefore it was named Avel Misraim, which is across the Jordan. His sons did for him exactly as he had instructed them. His sons carried him to the land of Canaan, and they buried him in the cave of the Machpelah field, the field that Abraham had bought as a burial estate from Ephron the Hittite, facing Mamre. Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers, and all who had gone up with him to bury his father. After he buried his father, Joseph's brothers perceived that their father was dead, and they said, Perhaps Joseph will nurse hatred against us, and then he will surely repay us all the evil that we did him. So they instructed that Joseph be told, Your father gave orders before his death, saying, Thus shall you say to Joseph, Oh, please, kindly forgive the flagrant offense of your brothers and their sin, for they have done you evil. So now, please forgive the flagrant offense of the servants of your father's Elohim. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers themselves also went and flung themselves before him and said, We are ready to be your slaves. But Joseph said to them, Fear not, for am I instead of Yahweh? Although you intended me harm, Yahweh intended it for good, in order to accomplish it is as clear as this day, that a vast people be kept alive. So now, fear not, I will sustain you and your young ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke to their heart. Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household, and Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw 3 generations through Ephraim. Even the sons of Machir, son of Manasseh, were raised on Joseph's knees. Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die, but Yahweh will surely remember you and bring you up out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob. Then Joseph adjured the children of Yasharal, saying, when Yahweh will indeed remember you, then you must bring my bones up out of here. Joseph died at the age of 10 years. They embalmed him, and he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Done died. And that concludes Genesis. I might yeah, we're gonna keep this. We're gonna read this Tanakh front to back. I don't know. I'm probably gonna start with Exodus tonight. If not tonight, then maybe tomorrow night. Got some things we'll do tomorrow, but we're definitely gonna get it in every day and finish this front to back. So yeah, y'all. I got some things to do in a little bit. Tori, man, bro, you showed up right after we finished. But yeah, yo, yeah, all praise to the Most High. We're gonna get back. We're gonna start Exodus either tonight or tomorrow night. It depends. But we're gonna read this thing front to back. It needs to be done. Everything in context. No biases, no preconceived notions. Just take it for what it is. And yeah, we gotta, just like as the priest used to do. The priest used to read to the whole people. Everybody used to listen, man. That's how we gotta do it. We gotta, as one unit, we gotta read this thing. Not all this jumping around verses and chapters and trying to build doctrines that ain't there. You know, but there's gonna be a remnant of people that's gonna show up. It's all good as long as I got one person listening. I ain't trying to read by myself. I already read the whole Tanakh front to back by myself. I just finished up on Wednesday. But yeah, it's something we gotta do. And read if y'all want to read. If not, if I gotta read the whole thing, it's all good. My throat kind of hurt though, so yeah, I'm gonna give it. I need a break. But yeah, with that being said, yo, all praise to the Most High. May you bless all y'all with wisdom. May you bless you with constraint over your spirit and the ability to master yourself and be an example and a light to everybody around you, whether they be of your people, our people, of strangers. We gotta draw in everybody and be the light to the world as he said. With that being said, bless you all. Shalom. Y'all have a great day. I'll see y'all either tonight or tomorrow. Y'all be blessed.